Sintam-se à vontade, o palco é de vocês.
Welcome everyone for the first English panel of the day. We have some international celebrities here with us for the first time in Satsconf, so I hope you like it and you tell them how good the panel was so they come back next year. And to start, I'd like to know and to meet the audience and everyone who is here with us. So please raise your hands who here uses as a main wallet, your main Lightning wallet is a custodial wallet, like wallet of Satoshi or Blink or something like that.
Boo! Not good.
Okay, we got a few hands. So, and who here uses like a self-custodial wallet, like Phoenix, like Breeze, or your own node, or something else?
All right, yeah.
Okay, I'm surprised. Good. I was actually expecting to be mostly custodial.
Sounds good.
Okay, good to know. So yeah, mostly normies, when they're starting out on Bitcoin and so forth, like everyone recommends them like custodial wallets. Everyone tells like, oh, download all of Satoshi and yeah, start receiving some sats and make payments. And people don't know exactly what they're getting into. So to start from your guys' views and your guys' points of view, if someone gets onboarded to Wallet of Satoshi or to a custodial wallet like that, or even like an exchange like BIPA or something like that, are they actually using Bitcoin? Are they actually using Lightning? So, yeah.
You go first.
I'll kick it off, sure. I think that you're using Bitcoin and Lightning, the networks. You may or may not be using Bitcoin as the unit of account, right? Because there's currency conversion in those apps. But you're not using Bitcoin, the asset, at all. What you have in your wallet, what's displayed to you, is not Bitcoin. You don't have the keys for that. It's an IOU. It's a promise from the custodial provider that maybe you'll be able to send this Bitcoin somewhere else.
I want to ask an alternative question because this is a bit too philosophical for me.
Sure.
Sure, go ahead.
When you use your bank account, do you use fiat? Do you use fiat? So the analogy for Bitcoin and fiat is here that using cash, real physical cash in your hands under your mattress is the true way of using fiat. So to extend this logic to the fiat system would mean that if you use your bank account, if you use PayPal and so on, you're actually not using fiat, which I disagree with. It is all fiat in my mind. So I would say even someone using Wallet of Satoshi is using Bitcoin, even if they don't hold the Bitcoin themselves and they don't custody the Bitcoin themselves, but you're still, although you're not triggering the transaction by signing keys and so on, you're still causing a Bitcoin transaction going from A to B, even if you don't hold the Bitcoin at A. So yeah, I would relax it a little bit and say, yes, you're using Bitcoin, but not in the most cypherpunk, most sovereign way of using it.
Yeah, I mean, you're still using the Bitcoin network. You just are not the one in control of the asset at all. I mean, hell, if we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of it compared to fiat, you don't own the fiat either. The government owns all of it, and they say, oh, you're just using it. You're just borrowing it from us for a little bit. So there's many, many shades of gray here, right? It's not just black or white. And, while I think that a Wallet of Satoshi user would probably be best to move on and upgrade to a fully self-custodial wallet where they hold their own keys, I am still grateful that they've made that step. They got into our ecosystem, and they are speaking the same language we are, even if they're not reaping all the benefits that they could be.
Yeah, I think that the problem here is when you want to be self-custodial, there's a huge wall you have to climb.
Huge.
Especially in Lightning, because Bitcoin, you just go there and download a wallet, then you have your address, and you can send to anyone, and you can receive from anyone. But then on Lightning, it's different because you have liquidity, you have channels, you have to maintain all those channels, you have to make sure you have a good path with less friction, less fees, and then this is hard. So I guess custodial wallets are needed for the layman to start using and get used to it, and then learn more and become their own custodial.
Okay, I do think that's a very pragmatic view, and I agree. Thankfully, though, today we have a lot of self-custodial alternatives, and yeah, the number of alternatives is growing every day. And one of them that people used a lot for people who have their own nodes, their LND nodes and so forth, was Zeus. So people run their own nodes, use Zeus to remote control it and so forth. And yeah, it was a great solution. I myself used it with Lightning Node Connect and everything. But now you've recently released even like the LSP version that has an own node inside the app, which makes everything much easier for people. So please tell us like the motivation behind this release, and if you think the remote control use case will still last after this was released.
Yeah, so Zeus, for, I don't know, the last 5 years, you had to come to the table already with this node. You'd either lived at home, behind your router, like an Umbrel or Start9, or you'd have it in the cloud, like with Voltage or something. And we knew that this was the biggest entry point into the app for someone to start using Bitcoin in our app in a self-custodial manner. So we said, okay, number one, what can we do? And we went and we created a version of Zeus that has the node in the phone. So basically you have the full power of the Lightning node sitting on your Android or your iOS device. But beyond that, we still have other challenges in Lightning, like the liquidity, setting up your channels. So beyond that, we set up our own LSP or Lightning Service Provider called Olympus. And now users are able to easily get connected to the Lightning network. They pay a zero comp invoice. They don't even realize the mechanics behind it at all. But they make their first Lightning payment. They don't need channels beforehand. And from there on, they can easily send and receive on Lightning.
So 2 years from now, will there still be people using Zeus to remote control their node, or do you think this will die as a feature?
I don't think it's going to die, and I'm a firm believer of not forgetting where you come from, right? That's why I named it Zeus. Was born in America, but my family's from Greece, right? So similarly, we're not going to forget about those remote users. But I think that moving forward, if this thing is going to be successful, the vast majority of our users are not going to even know what a node is. They're going to use the easy mode in Zeus, the node on the phone, and there will be just the niche users still using it. I always want it to be an option, but they're going to be wildly outnumbered, so we're going to have to start prioritizing what I think is going to be the average user using this new mode.
Cool. And by the way, if you have not tested Zeus, go download the app. It's pretty cool. I've used it myself, and yeah, it's great. So do it. And besides Zeus, we have also a lot of other more do-it-yourself alternatives, because, well, Bitcoin is open, and everyone can create their own solutions on top of it. That's what makes it an open network. And one of the most popular one for years was exactly LNBits, which many people can use to create like family accounts and has like tons of features. By the way, we have some workshops today that will play around with LNBits, so make sure to check out the workshop room for that. And so yeah, Calle, like now that we have a lot of more off-the-shelf, more like ready-to-use solution, do you think those do-it-yourself solutions like LNBits, which you have worked on, will still be used broadly in the future?
Well, I think LNBits will remain very significant for the builders for a long time, because I mean I've just paid a coffee on a coffee machine today that was running LNBits in the background. So this is a typical case where someone wants to just solve a problem. There is no solution there yet, and LNBits gives you this unified API that you can just plug into your Lightning node, and it doesn't matter if it's a CLN node, LND node, a Claire node. You can just put LNBits on top, and if your application can talk to LNBits, you can use all these different features from all the different implementations. So that's our goal, basically, to unify everything such that it can become a nice developer experience to build these things. So I believe coffee machines will exist also in the coming years, and I hope they will continue accepting Bitcoin. So I guess there is always going to be a need for these tools out there. But LNBits also gives you some unique features that other plug-and-play solutions won't. For example, it gives you accounting. I built software myself, which thousands of people use, and they all have their own accounts with their own balances. And LNBits gives you just this very easy way to do an accounting system on top of that. There are businesses using this, so businesses that want to give their users Lightning balances like to use LNBits because it cares about these accounts in the background. And recently we have also added more features like node management, channel management. So we're working on a green light implementation right now that we can use with LNBits, so it becomes easier to just spin up an LNBits in the cloud that is self-custodial, managing lightning balance that is hosted by Blockstream by a green light, and you hold your own keys. So we keep expanding that, keep making it easier to set up LNBits in a non-custodial fashion, and then to be able to use that to offer services. And the number of different services that people will offer in the future is just unthinkable. This is a multiplier. LNBits just multiplies your power to use Lightning. And that's why I think I cannot predict what's going to happen, but we can still try to build the best tools for people to use their imagination and just go one step further and do something that hasn't been done before.
Cool. I love the modular approach of LNBits and how many new features are coming up, including Cashu, which we'll talk about later in this talk. So yeah, awesome, man. In the case of LNBits itself, it can be successful even if people don't know it exists, because it's like the tech underlying many other cool features. So yeah, great to know about that. And Níckolas, you started in ZBD years ago. So yeah, you were one of the early team members. And back then there was like no Lightning wallet, pretty much. Like the market was pretty empty. ZBD was one of the first. And now you're building Comet Cash. And many new Bitcoin wallets came up ever since. So how are you planning to differentiate among this increasingly crowded and Red Sea market?
Yeah, talking about ZBD specifically, I was the third hire there. So I've been there since the beginning. I built that. And then it got to a point where this is, like Evan says, you're not using Bitcoin, right? You don't have the keys, you don't control anything, and then the user doesn't know what's happening. And that for me was a bit cloudy. So I decided to join Comet Cash. We are doing like non-custodial wallet. The mobile phone is their own node as well. And we are aiming more to the merchant side as well. So over here, if you're paying for food or beverages, you are using Comet Cash. So we built the POS system, and the POS has a Lightning node. So you are paying to the merchant, and you don't have intermediaries on that. So this is like what Lightning was built to use. So like I was saying before, it's very hard to climb that wall and become your own node and manage all of that. So I guess LSPs will be more common from now on, and people will have more power to decide like which LSP they will connect to. We're working on a standard for LSPs as well, and I guess when we get there, we will have to make sure we have some niche stuff on the app. So the plan for Comet Cash is becoming something like a super app. So you have chat, you have payments, you have splitting bills. We are partnering up with some companies in Africa to allow them to pay utility bills using Comet Cash. So we are looking for this day-to-day use of the wallet. And on top of that, they hold their own keys. So we don't have access to anything. We are backing up the channels to make sure they don't lose their money. We will make sure to make all the good connections, have liquidity everywhere. So to easy out this wall they have to climb to understand what's happening. And then I guess the next step for everyone is getting their hands dirty, and this is just one step, right? But I guess this will go for like, we're talking down there just now, this will go for generations. I guess my kid, he's 5 now, he will not use Bitcoin like we imagine them to use it. Probably my grandkid will be using like day to day, and everyone will be using this hyper Bitcoinization everyone talks about. This will take a long time. So in the meantime, we will need like LSPs and wallets that bring people closer to using Bitcoin and being responsible, because this is good as well to talk about. Like, people don't want to be responsible for their funds. They want to call the bank and say they forgot the password. So there's education as well to be done and make people understand the responsibility that is to hold your own keys.
I want to give a short comment here on related to what you just said, and also give my respect to companies like Synonym, and you guys are working on it. I know Breeze guys are working on it. You guys also launched an LSP. So in the last year, we have seen this surge of non-custodial development, which is amazing. This is like, you know, it has been predicted. The tools are here now. People are launching their non-custodial wallets. Non-custodial is sovereignty, but there is also another aspect that we need to keep in mind, which is decentralization, and it's not the same thing as sovereignty. So in this new wave of wallets that are non-custodial, there is one risk that we need to solve, which is that the fact that you have a non-custodial wallet relies these days a lot on an LSP that gives you these services in order to be able to use that wallet. I will give an example, which is Phoenix Wallet. They're using the async LSP, the biggest Lightning node in a network. And the problem here with them is, although it's an amazing wallet, I'm using it myself, they have thousands of these users that all connect to the single server in order to communicate with the Lightning Network. Full sovereign. It's their own money, your keys, your money. But there's only one server, and there's only one company that can run the server. So the biggest challenge right now in Lightning, I think, is to get a standard done, an LSP standard that we can all talk to, and people can run their own LSPs if they want. So I want to be sovereign, but I also want the option to use any LSP that I want. I want to say, I don't like you anymore, I will use another LSP on the day I want to decide. So big applause and big respect to this effort to build an LSP standard. It's something that is not glorious and not so, it's not so cool to talk about, but it's actually very, very important for the decentralization of Lightning. If we want to keep Lightning decentralized, we also need to be able to make everyone run their own LSP if they want. So thank you for that.
Awesome, that's a great point. And the LSP spec specifically, it's something that started out at Synonym, and it's good to contextualize you guys of why was that. And by the way, it's the company that I work for. The main reason why is that we developed BitKit, which is a self-custodial wallet as well, another alternative besides the ones that were listed here. And we have an issue which is kind of regulatory, which is we cannot serve with our LSP, Blocktank, we cannot serve US and Canadian users. So we were like, this is like the largest markets, and people cannot use our wallet, so we want to let them use BitKit without necessarily using Blocktank, which is our LSP. So we want to welcome other LSPs to our wallet as well, and that's how the thing started, and yeah, it's progressing very well, and it's definitely a great thing to reduce this decentralization that happens, as you mentioned, in Phoenix and async. So yeah, and this touches upon the next question, which is exactly on the topic, which is the shades of gray, which is we are all here working on different self-custodial solutions, but even though they are all self-custodial, LNBits, Zeus, and Comet Cash, and BitKit, they are not exactly have the same trust profile. So Evan, you launched Zeus Pay recently, which it's self-custodial, but it's kind of, you have to trust somehow, because you're running the domain, you have the DNS access, you could redirect. I know it's complicated shit, it's not super obvious, but yeah, everything has levels of shades in terms of trust and everything. So, and it's just really hard to communicate to the user. They don't know exactly what they're getting into. So
absolutely. So we've basically set up a way for users to be able to have a Lightning address. That means they have this string that looks like an email address. They can receive to it 24/7. Even if their node is sitting in their pocket and it might not be online 24/7. So we set up this account with them. We host the invoices for them, obviously, when they're not online. But we have no ability to claim the funds from it. The user generates pretty much the keys behind them, these pre-images on their device, and they only send us these hashes to help us create invoices for them. That being said, there's all these other ways for us to mess with them. Do we say they got, less money than they actually received? Do we try to serve up the same invoice twice? Do we serve up some of our own invoices? And basically, to try to keep us in check, to keep things a little bit more trust minimized as much as we can, we've been using these attestations on Nostr, where the sender actually broadcasts a Nostr event for you to go check to make sure that the amount that you're receiving corresponds to what they sent, minus the fees, of course, that we're taking. So it's a very difficult concept here, right? There's a lot of moving pieces. It's very difficult to convey to the user. And you know, messaging is just immensely difficult here, maybe even more so than actually the technology behind it. So that's always going to be a challenge when trying to make these sort of cutting-edge solutions.
Yeah, today people, even when they're using custodial wallets, they don't even know it's custodial, right? Like Wallet Satoshi doesn't tell you that. People like are, okay, shouldn't I get 12 words or something to back up? They don't understand why Wallet Satoshi doesn't give them 12 words. So it's really complicated to message that. So when it comes to more specific features like that, it's even harder.
It's a fine balance too, right? Like we all have smartphones in our pockets. We're all talking the internet. Most of the people here probably don't know how packet routing works or BGP or all the underlying stuff. And they shouldn't have to, right? But at the same time, there should be like some basic education, and I think that really should be like your keys and what they mean and the control they mean and offer to you. But beyond that, everything else should be tucked under the hood, and the power users will find a way to go under the hood and tweak the things if they want.
I want to maybe give a comment on that, because with money we're dealing with a slightly different technology than all the other technologies that we're using. And this is fascinating to me. You can see, for example, Umbrel, HomeNode, you know, running a server at home. This has been a cypherpunk dream for decades. People will run their own web servers, they even thought people will run their own mail servers. Like, we got wrecked on that, but never happened.
Stinks.
But it turns out that once it's about money, people really like to put the effort in there. Not everyone, but a large portion of Bitcoiners run their own nodes at home. This is something that hasn't been, you know, has been on the table for so long. And I think if we talk about money, people have a different motivation to keep themselves safe. They have more interest in learning new things. And maybe there is a little bit of nuance there where you really, you know, there is no other way to keep Bitcoin safe than to keep your own keys, right? Probably that will never change, right? The keys will always be in your control.
But counterpoint is that people are also less hesitant to try this new technology in Bitcoin because it is their money, right? It costs them nothing to sign up for a new social media platform like a Nostr, create new keys, do that stuff. But there is an inherent cost in onboarding onto this new monetary network. So there is some, you know, hesitation there that's hard to counter. But once you get them in, you want to keep learning more and more and more and keep going down the rabbit hole. And while we should make the first step very easy for those entry users, we should, you know, continue the pathway to, you know, full cypherpunk, you know, sovereignty.
And Níckolas, we were talking before entering this stage about the decisions and the model that you decide to go through in Comet Cash, and you guys are using like a remote signer based on top of CLN and so forth, so I'm sure it has lots of different trade-offs, so that, I mean, yeah, again, challenging to communicate to the user, so how are you managing that?
That's hard. Like that's why we are planning to have like an educational tab on the app, so they can learn more and more about how all of this contraption works and how you can send money borderless. And this is the hardest part. What we are doing is something that is not new, but everyone is deciding to use the technology that is available. And we are going a step further and trying to build our own, with our own set of security and all of that. We could be using like VLS to do this, but then we don't know how that works. They don't know how that works to the extent, you know, that they're still building it. And then we cannot wait for the market to like, oh, okay, VLS is the de facto way to do this. So everyone, let's go and do this. So we are trying to do things as it happens. So VLS is not ready yet, and we need a solution to have these remote signers. So any mobile phone, especially, like I said, we are trying to be big in like countries that goes through like difficulties, like money problems, you know, like Africa. And then over there, they have like low-end mobile phones. But we want them to use this. So we are trying to build like we are writing things in like C as well. So going on the C Lightning level stuff. Because then we have control of what's happening, and then we have control of, okay, this software can run on a $20 phone. And then they can buy stuff using Bitcoin. They can be part of the Lightning Network as well. I don't know if we have to communicate this to the user, like how we are doing things and the technologies that we are using behind the scenes, but I guess it's important to have the information out there. And if they want, they can find the information, they can learn more, they can talk to us. Like it has to be like this open door. Like this is how we do it. We are not telling you like how we wrote this, but here is how it works. And then you can learn more, you know. One thing that we are doing as well is everything, like from the channels and the backups, everything is open. So we will be building next couple months like a tutorial. If they are not happy using Comet Cache, okay, here's our keys, here's our channels, just take it away. You don't have to stay with us. Until we have like the LSP standard and all of that, so they can choose where to go, it's open. You just grab your things and move away.
I love that, and it's so antithetical to the Silicon Valley model right now. It's like, create the walled garden, keep the user in there, get them interacting as much as possible only with you. And we're like, nah, here's the door, you can leave if you want.
It's our responsibility to keep the user in. So
I will go to a service that will allow me to exit. That's important for me as a user. So I will be repelled by the walled garden. I guess many people are like that. When it's about money, I think this is always a little bit different from the original technological paradigm that we are in. With money, things are a little bit different.
Yeah, I guess the more LSPs we have, the better, because then everyone is running for the money, right? We are trying to keep the users, we are finding new functionalities, we are finding things to put on the app just to keep the user there. The user, they have to want to be there. We don't want to force anyone to use the wallet. Like, it's easy, you can do a lot of stuff here, you don't have to leave the app, that's why we are going with this super app model. But if you want to leave, okay, here are the keys, you can move.
And please let me in, man. I want to test the beta app. I'll also go to the Comet Cache booth later to check it out. Cool stuff there. And if all of this that we have discussed so far was not complicated enough, there's like things that makes it even harder, which is eCash. So now even custodial wallets have seed phrases. Even custodial wallets look like self-custodial wallets. So yeah, things get really muddy. So Calle, please enlighten us in terms of eCash and Cashu and everything. Okay,
so we were talking about wallet to Satoshi, right? And until now we talked about the risk of losing your funds. This is one of the main risks of using a custodial system. There is another risk, though, that we solely talk about, which is sometimes even more important, sometimes it depends, but this is privacy. So there is one risk is losing your funds to the custodian, the other risk is that the custodian always knows perfectly what you're doing. They know what coffee you paid, at which time, what your balance is, they know your email address if you signed up for it, they can censor you, they can take away your money, and so on and so forth. You could even argue this is a higher risk in reality because the news we see when we're talking about political unrest and so on, it's usually about censorship. So this is the premise, and we want to fix this problem. So we want to build custodial systems that don't allow for, that respect your privacy, and this is where eCash comes in. eCash is a system that was invented way before Bitcoin. You could even say it's what birthed Bitcoin in the first place. It was the first electronic cash system invented in 1982 by David Chaum. And so this never really took off and then we had Bitcoin, which is now the ultimate electronic cash system. And eCash is a similar way of making an electronic cash system out of a custodial system. And the way this works is basically you go to a service provider. This could be a custodial wallet, but it can also be just a regular Bitcoin service. It doesn't need to be a wallet itself. And instead of now logging in and they have a database of every user, you have this balance, I have this balance, and when I want to send you something, then I subtract from me and add to you, and so all this tracking is not present in eCash. What you instead do is you deposit some Bitcoin, and in return you get some electronic piece of data. This is eCash, like piece of electronic data that you store in your pocket. And now that I have it in my pocket, on my phone, the system itself who gave it to me doesn't know that this is me in the first place, and they don't also know how much I have in my pocket. And when I send now eCash to you, I could take some of this data and send it to you. So this happens off-band, and the system that originally gave me this doesn't really know that this is happening. This gives it like this excellent privacy. You could even say it's most ideal privacy in monetary systems. Like there's probably nothing better that we know of in terms of privacy. So why is this interesting? Because we've talked a lot about non-custodial solutions, and last year has been phenomenal for non-custodial solutions. And there's complexity. We have channel management, liquidity management, and so on and so forth. I believe this can be solved with technology, right? So this is complexity. We can build software to hide away the complexity. But there is one problem that we will not be able to solve, except if we find some magic that I cannot think about yet, which is Bitcoin onboarding will always take a minimum amount of money that you need. I cannot onboard you with $10 of Bitcoin on Lightning. I can do that, but it would be stupid to open a channel for $10, right? So there's a problem, and this problem is only getting worse as the fees are increasing. So what happens to the 5 billion, to the 10 billion people who will be using Bitcoin one day, right? In the ideal case, they will be non-custodial, but we have a theoretical problem that tells us they cannot open channels, all of them, right? So eCash is one way of being pragmatic of this problem and trying to solve it from that other direction. So basically, we're trying to meet in the middle. We're building non-custodial solutions that are getting better and better, and we're building custodial solutions that are getting better in respecting your privacy and making sure that you cannot be censored and getting rid of most of the problems of like one part of this big problem of custodial solutions. So this is eCash. eCash is old. It has been dead for 30, 40 years. Then we found Bitcoin. And then after Bitcoin, since we now have the real money of the internet, and we can build stuff on top of it without having to ask anyone, we see now a surge of this old ancient technology built on Bitcoin, and Cashu is one of these projects that is doing this, reviving this old spirit of cypherpunk, and so that's what I'm working on. If you're interested, you can go to cashu.space and learn all about it. It's a new project, but if you're interested, just hit me up, and we're trying to make basically the experience for everyone better, whether it's custodial or non-custodial, yeah.
And also download eNuts, which is a wallet that has recently released and gives a good user experience into Cashu as well. So I recommend you guys to try it out. So you're talking about scalability, and that gives me a good segue into the last question of the panel, which is a spicy one. We started with a controversial one. Let's end with another spicy one, which is exactly in terms of the scalability and costs. So today, the mining fees, after like months of ordinals, craze and stuff, like it got low again. But it won't stay low forever. So which means that for people to start on self-custodial Lightning wallets, it will get expensive. Maybe opening a channel and so forth on Zeus, like today it's 10,000 sats or so. But yeah, it could get upwards to $20 or $50 one day. So will people still use self-custodial Lightning wallets when the mining fees are higher?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I think that there's a lot of interesting techniques that we can eventually deploy to help onboard more people at the same time. You have one transaction and onboard a multitude of users. So there still has to be a lot of upgrades at the protocol level, but I think there's a lot of interesting discussions going on, mostly revolving around channel factories, these mechanisms to open up multiple channels at the same time, and things like coin pools where multiple people are having shared ownership of the same UTXO. So perhaps a lot of stuff covenants will unlock. And I don't know exactly how it's going to all shake out. But I have to say that all the discussion around these scaling solutions over the last year has definitely been encouraging.
So maybe this comes back to the first question, actually, that you said. There's a famous quote of Hal Finney where he says he thinks Bitcoin banks will have a future because Hal Finney thought, maybe we will build a system in which we have high-powered money, he says. Bitcoin is high-powered money, and then be able to serve this high-powered money to people. I hope that we will be able to onboard everyone in non-custodial way. If this is challenging and if this turns out to be not possible, at least I think we are still building a better system. We're still building a better system in which people can participate in this project and have in the project of Bitcoin and always have the option to exit. And this is most important for me. In the banking system, in the fiat system, you cannot exit. There is no way to say, no, I don't want this relationship with you anymore. I'm just going to go away and choose something else. They will sometimes even not let you get your money out of the bank again, right? So I hope we're building a better system, even if it's going to be challenging in the future when the mining fees are super high and we don't find something like channel factories to be effective. I really hope they are. I think there's still light on the horizon. It seems like we're still building the more sound, more better system in an open source, community-driven way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that no solution is like the perfect solution. We are always building, we are always learning how to make it better, how to make it less expensive, like opening a multitude of channels in a single transaction, making the fee smaller, and we don't know what will come next. Like there's a lot of discussion, all the mailing lists. We are always talking about how to do this, and just the future will tell us.
Yeah, we started the panel with a more black and white view of things, and we ended more muddy and complex and hard to define. I think things will stay more, shades of gray in the future. Like it will be less clear, like how to differentiate stuff. I guess the only solution to that is for us to, study and learn more about the topics. So in this panel, I guess you guys learned a lot of new keywords and new topics, new things to study. So hope you have your reading list full after this panel. So guys, please leave your final message, an invitation, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, visit us at the booth. We can talk to you guys about how we are doing things, and the app should be out by the conference, but it's very hard to build something like we are building. But on the next couple months, we'll be releasing a beta on Android and iOS with this remote signing new technology. So probably you won't have to be on your phone all of the time, and then still be able to receive somehow. So we are working on this. No, not much spoilers. And also, I invite you to spend your Bitcoin, because this moves the Bitcoin network. We have to keep some for the posterity, but we have to spend to keep the wheels turning. And if you happen to spend here, we will be using the software that we built with a lot of love for the past 3 months. We'll be building the solution, the LSP, all the software that makes us run the POS system. And you will see that it's very fast. It's blazing fast, the solution we got. Sometimes before your wallet goes green, we are already printing the receipt. So it's very good to see it working. And thank you for the invite. It's very good to be here talking about all of this. And find me to talk about more stuff, Comet Cash. Thank you.
So I want to say, first of all, thanks for having us. And I'm very amazed by your local community that you have here. You should be proud of yourself, and this is amazing. I've been to the hackathon the last 2 days, on this conference today. The energy is really amazing. Please be aware of that. I also want to say, Bitcoin is a community project. Bitcoin just doesn't happen just like that. You have to participate. We have to participate in Bitcoin and develop on it. Bitcoin needs you, literally, to develop and learn about it. So if you're a developer already and you haven't done anything in Bitcoin, just start looking into it. It is the only thing that keeps Bitcoin alive, right? It doesn't happen just because of a couple of dudes sitting on a stage. we all have to participate, and we all have to learn about and work on it. So this is a project of all of us together, and I invite every one of you to study more about it and to learn more about it, build communities, build meetups, make these communities to work on this project that we all have. And I can also help you a little bit about that. If you're interested in the projects that I'm working on, then you can visit lnbits.com, you can visit cashu.space. These are projects that I'm involved with. If you're not interested in these projects, look for another project, because Bitcoin literally needs more developers. And if you're not a developer yet, then you should consider studying a little bit of computer science, I think, because this is how we build our future together. And thank you for the invite. Thank you for this panel. It's been amazing.
All right. Building on that, progress is incremental, right? Happens a little bit at a time. Bitcoin is not going to be the system that we want it to be today or tomorrow. It's going to take a long time. And a lot of that change starts with yourself. So take one step today. If you have a custodial wallet, try to download a self-custodial wallet like a Phoenix, a Breeze, a Mutiny, or a Zeus. The new Zeus wallet is in beta at blog.zeusln.com. Try it out. Help us refine it. We're going to try to put it out on the app stores next month. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for all the love, Brazil. We'll be back. And thank you all for helping us build Bitcoin.
Thank you. Enjoy the day.